Okay, thank you, Ron. I'm very pleased to be here at the end of the workshop, so I hope you're not too tired. After all these quite exciting presentations that we had, I try to be not too boring. I have some video examples that should be more attractive. I'm working on a computer improvisation system, which is called ImproteK. And my talk is divided into three parts. I shall present the system and the specificity of our approach first, and then I'll cope with two problems of rhythm, problems of phrasing, and then problems of beat detection. So, as Gerard said, ImproteK is part of the OMax family. In fact, we began OMax around 2003 together, and then the project evolved in different directions. So ImproteK is here. And it is currently developed by myself and Jérôme Nica, who presented his work on the grantee session on Sunday. A few statements about our approach. ImproteK belongs to the OMax family. It generates phrases by recombining sequences played by a real musician. That's a common feature of all the projects in the OMax family. We are working too on transformations in real time of which are applied to these recombinations. Very simple transformations, like just choosing different parts of the memory of what has been recorded by the musician, and some basic transformation like looping or accelerating the sequences. But there is another really important features of our approach, is that the development of the software cannot be separated from field works associated with it. It's because ImproteK copes with idiomatic improvisation, and our interest focuses on the judgment of musicians about its outputs. It's a really important aspect of the thing because as you will see in idiomatic improvisation, and mainly in rhythmic aspect of this kind of improvisation, there is a sense of correctness that is really strong, and we have to be able, with the computer, to fit this correctness purpose. So I shall begin with two video examples. Of the two main field work we are working in. The first one is in the jazz tradition. We are working with Bernard Lubat. He's a French musician. He learned to play jazz in the 60s in Paris. At that time, there were a lot of great American jazz musicians in Paris. And he learned to play the drums with Kenny Clarke. He replaced him in the Bud Powell trio and so on. And he is also a very good pianist. So in our work with him, he mainly plays the piano. So I shall show you a short video. In this video, you'll see on the left Bernard playing, and on the right the piano roll transcription of what he played. Here, this track is what was played by Bernard. This track is what will be played by the computer. And here you have information about the pulse here, with this series of points. And you have also information about the chord progressions here. Here it's C minor 7, F minor 7, G dominant 7, and so on. So in this short example, first the Bernard plays something, and then he stops, and the computer follows him. Okay, that's the kind of experiment we are doing with Bernard Lubat. The second field work I'm working in is in Madagascar. And I work with zyther players, like Velunzuru, you see on the right. This was done very recently. It was last July in Madagascar, because to make a communication between the zyther and the software, we had to design sensors. So that is done at the Laboratory of Musical Acoustics in Paris by Dorian Cazot and Olivier Adam. And in July, it was the first time the system was reliable enough to make these experiments. So I went to Madagascar. Velunzuru is a musician from the south, a very arid part of the country. He had never left his village before he came to Tananarive to work with me. And his main activity is to play in a trance rituals. He plays for a person who are possessed by the spirits, and that's his main activity. So it was really a challenge for me to try the system with him and to see if he accepts it or not, and so on. So here is a short example. First, he plays the zyther. There is a rattle part that which is heard in the headphones, and then the computer arrives. As you have seen, he quite accepted what was played by the computer. He even said that we could try to play both computer and zyther in trance rituals. So that will be another story, but sure, I will try to do it. And you see here there is an interface. It's a very basic interface that is usually connected to live by Appleton, but we use it in a specific way that I shall comment later. Okay, let's come back here. So, as you have seen, the development of the software is strongly connected with this kind of fieldwork sessions. But I would like to talk about two aspects of rhythm. The first one is related to phrasing. We made other experiment with another musician from Madagascar, Kilema. This one lives in Europe. He's based in Spain, in fact. But he came to Paris last spring to work with us. And I will show a short video of a session with Kilema. Here again, you have the musician listening to the computer. Here it is what the computer plays with his data. It is slowed down. Here you have the beats, and at some time, I make some looping of what he played, so I indicated this with this line here. In this case, there are 4 beats which are looped. And you'll see the comments of Kilema on this manipulation.
Là, il est bon, là. Il est bien, là.
Il y a une articulation là qui...
So, you know, he mentioned that here in this melodic descending line, there is a missing note here. And unfortunately, this is the part that I was looping. So the missing note was repeated. So this is a problem with when we want to manipulate the data. If there is something wrong in the phrasing, it may be repeated in the manipulation that we are doing.
Ça, je ne sens pas. Là, ça va. Là, ça va, là, ça va, là, ça va. Là, ça va, là, ça va. Là, je sens toutes les notes là, mais avant, il y avait beaucoup de notes qui sont pas là. Là, ça va.
Ça va, oui. D'accord. Parce que, alors, donc là, je fais boucler la partie qui va.
Ouais.
Là, tu vois, parce qu'on peut faire boucler, je peux faire boucler.
Ah, d'accord. Ah, d'accord. Coton. L'avant, c'était mieux. Ah, d'accord, donc tu peux faire. Donc tu peux faire tout ça.
Ouais. Après, je peux manipuler ce que tu as fait, tu vois.
Ah, d'accord.
So he understood that we can make something with his data. And as you have seen, there is things that can work and things that cannot. So it's a really important question. Another example of a session with Bernard Lubat that will introduce the notion of combination. It's a very important notion, as you will see. It's a sequence played by the computer. Here again, we have comments by Bernard, and you'll see there is something which is good and some others that are bad. Here, I'm accelerating the sequence here.
C'est ça qu'il faut lui faire jouer. Parce que là, ce genre de phrases à tout pleine, c'est des choses qu'après que tu as envie de faire.
Et normalement, il se rattrape.
Here again, acceleration. You can see it here. And here, a very wrong phrasing.
Ah, dico aussi. Ah, mais là, dans le chorus, elle est bonne avec le couplet. Ça, c'est pas mal. Ça, c'est bien. Ah, c'est bien.
Here, I try to combine looping, accelerating, and you can realize some figures like that. And if we go back here, there is what he called the tico-tico. Here. Here, the phrasing was completely wrong, too mechanical. And at the time, I had no way of controlling it. And we had a discussion with Bernard, and that's what he said about this aspect of the things.
Quand je l'ai joué, c'est pas complètement en place, mais c'est à ce moment-là, ça va. Mais si elle le traite ailleurs, ou à la fin de tout ça, c'est là que tu vois, oui, c'est ça. Voilà. C'est-à-dire qu'il y a des fois, tu as des notes qui sont retardées ou qui sont un peu avancé, mais ça a un rapport avec la phrase qui est avant, la musique qui en découle, et alors après, elle prend ça, si elle le traite ailleurs, mais là, c'est plus la même chose, ça n'a plus le même sens.
On pourrait mettre des contraintes de ne pas recombiner dans certains cas.
Oui, peut-être, je sais pas, alors là, oui. Ou alors dans certains cas, trombiner.
Oui, trombiner, tu veux dire...
Trombiner, dans certains cas, des trombiner. Des erreurs, on en fait quelque chose, des erreurs.
Oui, c'est ça, voilà.
Quand on a un problème avec le doigt qui passe à côté, ou une appoggiature d'une note qu'on n'a pas prévue, et puis qu'on en fait, quelque chose. Voilà. Mais ça, c'est dans tous les chorus, notamment de tous les pianistes, t'as ça tout, t'as ça. À part les mauvais qui sont parfaits. Les endroits où c'est pas intéressant, c'est parce que c'est des erreurs naïves, quoi. Alors que quand l'improvisateur fait une erreur, il est subjectif, il subjectivise, il s'excuse pas.
So it's in this kind of fieldwork, we collect really interesting information to introduce in the development of the software. A few statements to conclude this aspect. When ImproteK's results are bad, the musician tends to look for error in his own phrasing. It was the case with a Malgache musician and also with Bernard. And there is a strong notion of correctness in idiomatic improvisation. There exists a distance between the correct phrasing the musician has in mind and the one that he plays. And as we have seen, ImproteK may increase this distance, so that obviously that's a problem. And the combination theory, errors always occur in improvisation. A good improviser has to combine these errors, that is to distort them. And that is a function of our physical interface to do this. There is not so much time, but I will just say a few words about beats, because this is one of our main interests. I come back to the rattle part of the example from Madagascar. It's a very fast movement in three parts. First, you beat the rattle with the left hand, and then you throw the seeds upward and then backward. So it makes a ching-gi-ding, ching-gi-ding, ching-gi-ding movement. And the pulse does not fall on the first position. So we are in the case of a pulse falling on a weak position. Kofi said yesterday that in African music, the pulse is always associated with silence, and it's the case here. Just to show you a video which is slowed down, and you can see the hand clap. So a first remark that must be made about this is that there is a cultural aspect of the beats that we must take into account. In this case, it is the fact that in the music of zyther from Madagascar, the beat falls in weak position of the rattle. In a beat tracker represented as an oscillator, as in a larger model, the cultural aspects seem to correspond to the phase. That's an hypothesis that was introduced by Jérôme Nica. I think it's interesting to discuss. And the inner regularities of the rhythm are associated to the period. So maybe this model can discriminate between cultural aspects and the inner aspects of the rhythm. In ImproteK, that's a practical mention, the phase is determined manually. We have a beat tracker, but we have to initialize the beat tracker. Last aspect, the shared aspect of the pulse. In fact, when you have a group of musicians playing together, This is a wrong representation of the things, because when they improvise, there is nowhere any pulse which is a reference for everybody. The real situation is this. Everybody listens to each other in a quite complex interaction system, where there is a feedback loop between what they hear and what they play. And at present, we are not able to deal with such a complex situation. If we want to play quite rhythmic things, as you have heard, we must be very straight with our notion of pulse, and it's very difficult to deal with this. So we tried a simplified situation when there is one musician who is a computer. The computer listens to a musician play some very rhythmic part, and then when he has coded the rhythm, the other musicians have to listen to him. So I mean that the computer which becomes the leader of the rhythmic dimension. I will finish with an example of a very recent experiment I done with Bernard Lubat. It was 2 weeks ago, so it's quite fresh research. In this simplified situation, where first I catch what the rhythms that Bernard played, and then Bernard plays on the computer. So in this example, here it's I had no idea of what he played. The idea is that I could catch the rhythm from nothing, so I had no idea. He played a quite tricky ostinato here, because you have a combination of 4 beats on the right hand against 3 beats on the left. And the 4-beat part is quite syncopated. You can see the syncopation here. And there is a kind of balancement between 2 chords, and it's a 4-beat meter. And in the interface of the system, here, I first tap the tempo with the spacebar to initialize the beat tracker. And then I initialize the metrical structure with the interface here, because the upper part of the interface is dedicated to the metrical structure. And here, that's the input from what Bernard played. That's the result of the beat tracker. It's based on the oscillator model of Ed Large. And then I release the beat tracker, and at that time, here I release the beat tracker, so at that time the tempo became fixed. So, and you will see there is a little problem in the connection between the Bernard and the computer. So let's listen to this example. Oh, I must go. One, two, three, 1, 2, 3. This is a 3-beat part. So now it's a computer. So as you have heard, there is a little problem when the computer came in here. In fact, when the tempo was fixed here, it was okay with Bernard, what Bernard was playing, because the tempo was given by the beat tracker. But there is a small delay before the computer came in, and during that delay, there is a small variation of tempo in Bernard's part. So when the computer comes in, Bernard is a bit too late. You can see here. So I think this can be easily solved by introducing the computer right at the time where the tempo became fixed. So this is a practical issue that we address because our interest is to really make music with this system and to interact with musicians to collect their judgments about the music. So we had to choose some simplified situation to be able to make this kind of interaction. So that's the end.
We have time maybe for one question.
So what you described, I love that that triangle. It reminded me of that story about the British Museum, you know, where if you have enough monkeys typing and all that. But the thing is that then what you did was you replaced, suddenly the computer came in and suddenly everybody was sort of tied to the computer. And what I heard in this example, which is very interesting, was that, you know, I don't know, Bernard didn't sound so much late as it wasn't interactive anymore. I mean, can you comment on that? I mean, it just seems at first Bernard was being captured, and then after that, you know, he had to sort of follow, and there wasn't any sense of like the computer could hear Bernard and maybe adjust what it was doing a little bit. Was I wrong about that?
No, you're right. Yes, that's why I said it's a very simplified situation. But I do not really know how to cope with more complicated situation. If we want to play very straight rhythm like that, if you have a more flexible sense of rhythm, it's okay. But for instance, the zyther rhythm, you cannot move. It must be very, very straight.
The what? Sorry.
The rhythm of the zyther from Madagascar must be very, very straight. So how to do this without the kind of simplifications that we are doing here?
Yeah, it's very difficult. But it's you know, I thought you were tackling it in some very interesting ways, but you bring up this question about shared agency between the human and the machine.
Yes.
And that's a new issue, I think, so far. In these discussions over the past few days.
Yes.
Thank you, Marc, once again.